Hello everyone. In this video, we will look back into the topic of function space. So we start by saying that if you need to specify a number, then what you can do is to plot a real number line. So let us suppose I have a line and I want to specify a number, say 1. What I can do is to call this line R, a real number line, and I can choose a point 0 and then I can choose point 1, 2, 3 and so on. And for negative number I go back to the left hand side and write it as -1, -2 and so on. In this way I can specify a number. In the same way, this concept can be extended to two-dimensional case, where I can specify a two-tuple number. Let us suppose I want to specify a number 2, 3. What I can do is to plot a x-axis and a y-axis. I take point 1, 2, 3 and 4 and so on, and in this side there are -1, -2 and so on, and similarly for the y-axis. Now 2 is saying that go to the right hand side 2 steps and 3 steps on the y-axis, positive y-axis, and you get the point 2, 3. This is a simple linear algebra that we know from our elementary courses. This two-dimensional can be extended to three-dimensional by saying that I have 3 axes, x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, all of them perpendicular to each other, and then a point x, y, z can be specified as earlier. X represent the step on x-axis, y on y-axis and z on z-axis. Now I want to extend this idea to the n-dimensional case, where I have total n tuple number, and I say that n tuple numbers are the point in n-dimensional space, but I cannot visualize a dimension beyond 3-dimensional. I can see 3-dimensional, but I can't 4D or 5D. So keep in this mind this analogy of 3-dimensional, I extend my dimensionality to n-dimensional case. Now if I have given a function, let us suppose I have given a function that is given by the following graph on a right hand left hand side. This function can be assumed as a string, where I fix the string at point 0 and L, and then I have some kind of curve on a string. Now if I want to specify you this curve, one thing I can do is to give the equation of the curve, and the second I can approximate this curve by dividing the interval from 0 to L into some arbitrary points. Let us suppose I choose 20. So I have a point x1, x2, x3 and so on. What I can do is to specify the value of the function on these points. So what I get, a 20 number list of 20 numbers, which are f of x1, f of x2 and so on, f of xl. Now this is an approximation. Now this approximation get better and better as you increase how many times you divided the interval. In this particular case I divided it by 20. Let us suppose I divided it by n. So as n tending to infinity, I get a good approximation of my function. Now in this case, this dimensionality of the space, dimensionality of the function become infinite dimensional for the very good approximation of the function. Now this is the idea of the function space. So this point, so what is the idea is to regard a function as a point in some space, a space where every point is associated with some function. And then what we can do is to associate, give a name to every function space, and given a function we can say that this function belongs to this space, this function belongs to this space, and according to that the function have that kind of property as the space have. So this is the basic idea. Let's take a look on the basic definition, and that is each function y of x belonging to some class as a point in some space, and spaces whose element are function is called function spaces. How you can decide what kind of function space you have to choose? This depends on the problem, what kind of problem is given to you. Let us suppose you are given a functional of the form integration from a to b capital F x comma y prime dx. So this functional demands that the y and y prime should be continuous, and that is to say that we should choose a function space where functions are continuous and their first derivative is also continuous. If you are given a functional of the form, say integration from a to b capital F x comma y prime y double prime, so I demand that y prime and y double prime should be continuous. So I should choose a functional space where these properties are holding. The idea of norm-linear space. Now, by saying that the space is linear space, we mean that the element, the set R of elements, let us suppose I denote the element of the function space or some set x, y, z of any kind, for which you can define a multiplication by a number and the operation of addition. So I have an space where I can define the addition rule and multiplication by the scalar. So you can define these laws, and also these laws are holding the following properties. We will take a look one by one. The first property says that x plus y is equals to y plus x. It means that the addition should be commutative. The second property says that x plus y, you add first x plus y and then add z, is equals to adding y plus z first and then add x. There are several more properties. Number 3 property says that there exists an element, we call it identity element or sometimes we call zero element, such that x plus 0 is equals to x for any x belongs to R. So x is basically the element of R. For each x in R, there exists a element called minus x, we denote it by minus x, such that x plus minus x, if you add the x with that element, you get the identity. This element is called inverse of x. We denote it by minus x. The fifth property says that 1 into x is equals to x. The sixth property says that alpha times beta into x, if I multiply first by beta and then by alpha, is same as multiplying the scalar first and then multiply with the element. The seventh property says that adding alpha plus beta scalars and then multiply with the element is equals to multiplying first the scalar and then adding. And the last property goes on alpha times x plus y. This is just a distribution of alpha, and this says that if you add the element then scale them, or first scale them then add. These are both the same things. So these are the property followed by the linear spaces. Now linear space R is said to be normed if each element x is assigned a non-negative number. We define a norm of a element by double mod. I make double mod x double mod. This is a non-negative number. So what I can do is to define a non-negative number and associate with each element, which have the following properties. The first property says that the norm of a zero element is always zero, or saying that if for any element the norm is zero, then it is zero element. The second property says that if you scale the element and then take a norm, or take a norm and then scale, these are the same things. The third property is just a triangle property that says that adding two sides of the triangle and then take the sum of two sides will always be greater or equals to first adding and then take a norm. So these are the property that should be hold for the norm spaces. Now these are some abstract idea which vary from space to space. So for some space norm should be some other kind of thing, for the second some other kind of thing. Let us suppose an example. For the vectors in three-dimensional case, we know that norm is basically the length of a vector which is a positive number, and that hold these properties. You can verify them with this. And for the functions, norm is defined by some other things. Now the next is the distance between the point, and that is the distance between x and y is basically the norm of a element x minus y. Now this is a function that represent the one of the property. Because we are talking about function, what we did is to first plot the exponential function that is represented by the red line, and then a sine function that is represented by the green line. And what I did is to first add these value at that point, or I first add them and plot a function, and then so this is value at that point is just the function value at this point plus function value at this point. Now we will talk about some of the function spaces, and the first space that occur most on the math problem and our problems is L of a comma b. So L of a comma b consists all continuous function y of x that define on a closed interval a and b. So all the functions that are defined in x is equals to a and x is equals to b and that are continuous functions are in the category of L of a comma b. And in this function, addition means adding a function. Adding two function mean the simple as we add two function. Let us suppose the one function is x defined on interval a to b and the second one is x square. So adding a function at particular point is basically mean that the adding the value of x at that point and x square at that point, the simple addition that we did. And multiplication by the scalar is same as we did usually, and that is to multiply the function by that number. Now norm is defined in this space by the maximum of absolute value. So if my function is x that is defined in between point a and b, the maximum value will be basically the norm of this function, and that is b, because the maximum value will be b. So we can write it as mod of y is equals to maximum of y of x. The second category is d of a comma b, d1 of a comma b, and this space consists of all functions y of x defined on interval a comma b with continuous derivatives and have a continuous functions. So their first derivative will be continuous. So the multiplication law and the addition is as before, as in L a comma b, and the norm is defined as by the formula say mod of y is equals to maximum of the value of that function and plus maximum of y prime of x. So you just add the maximum of y prime of x. The next category says Dn of a comma b, and it consists of all the function y of x that defined on this interval a comma b and which are continuous and have continuous derivative up to order n. And norm is defined as y of mod of yn is equals to summation maximum of all the first derivative, second derivative, and adding zero derivative also. So what I did is to write maximum of y of x plus maximum of y prime of x plus maximum of y double prime of x plus so on up to n order. So I just take the summation sign. And the last topic is basically the continuity. So the definition is that the functional j of y is said to be continuous at a point y belonging to R if any epsilon greater than 0 there exists an delta such that j of y minus j of y cap is less than epsilon. The mod will be here, provided that double bar y minus y cap is less than delta. So this is a delta epsilon delta definition that you read in your function of several variable calculus. I will not get into very much that. I will take this topic continuity in the second video, but the basic idea is that let us suppose you have a class of a function that is defined on interval a comma b. Let us suppose this is the figure of this curve, and what I choose as a functional is the area of this curve, area under the curve. Now what I am saying that if I take another point that is in neighborhood of this y cap, my reference function where I am checking the continuity, this is saying that the distance between y and y cap is less than delta. So I choose a curve that is in neighborhood and distance between these elements is delta, and then I am finding the area. So what I have to do is to check whether the area of these function lie in the range of epsilon or not. Is there any epsilon for which these area are in the range of epsilon? So this is the basic idea, so that if you vary the distance between the curve, the area changes, not changing very drastically, but as you are changing the distance between the curve, so the area. So we will take a look back and see this topic again of the continuity of the functional, but that is all for this video. We talk about the functional and so on. So thanks for watching the video. See you in the next video.